Oh, yeah.
What's up, everybody? This is the day, or this is the evening that the Lord has made. We're going to rejoice and be glad in it. I'm so happy you can join me tonight for another show called Real Talk with Marty Peters. Hey, I'm Marty Peters. I am your host. And my niece is in here with me tonight. She's off tonight. Hey, man, she works 7 days a week almost, and she is in the studio with us tonight. and I am privileged to have, hey, everybody, I am privileged to have two of my greatest friends on. Both of them are preachers, both of them are smart. If you all can remember the fella that's got the seatbelt wrapped around him and the bottom screen of the picture, he was our keynote speaker for Solidarity Sunday on last year. And was he
Oh,
awesome?
yeah.
He was awesome. And that is all the way from DAG by way of pastoring in Stockton, California, the Way Christian Church, the organizing pastor, my friend and my brother, Pastor Antoine Miller. And then my sister, and who I am well pleased, my sister, who I love, who was my baby's uh, elementary school teacher. Mari loves Dr. BJ.
Oh,
Dr. Barbara Jim George uh, is my sister. She's not just my friend. She's not just Mari's. Not she lost Mari. Dr. BJ, what you say? You lost the whole fifth grade class to sixth grade, huh?
yeah. They ran off and left me and went to sixth grade.
I'm sure. I'm sure Mari is watching. She's already seen the flyer of you and her Uncle Twan. So you all, listen. I went hard last week. I was raw, unedited, filtered, but the show is not called Face Talk. Fake Talk. The show is called Real Talk, and where we keep it real about church issues, about current events, about the political world, and really whatever the Lord gives me, we feel a need to talk about. That's what we will do. We will talk about it. And so tonight is part two. My godmama put in my spirit, listen, son, that show was so good. I really think you're not finished with it. I really think you're not finished with it. Pastor Carlos Davis in Georgia. What's up, my brother? Uh, Thank you for joining. You always catch me on Saturdays. So listen, y'all, I didn't want to do it again by myself. I want to sit back and I want to hear what my guests have to say tonight. Um, it was voted and passed Roe versus Wade on a woman no longer has a right over her body. And I have 6 daughters. I have, let me see, two paths. I have 11 aunties between my dad's side and my mother's side. A mama and 3 sisters, a whole lot of god sisters, and 5 godmothers. So I'm pro woman. I believe in endorsing women in ministry. I have a daughter that is a preacher and can preach
Yes,
and
it
is
is.
in school and is educated. And so is Dr. BJ. So if y'all hear me call him Dr. BJ or Twan, I just been calling them that for a long time, y'all. So it's hard to give them their titles when we're in the heat of a conversation like that. It's no disrespect. If anybody feel like I'm being disrespectful, this is my show, and I can choose to call my guests by their first names or their last names or our nicknames. What's really important is you all what we're talking about tonight.
Amen.
I stand in agreement on a woman does have a right to choose. Is that uh hey Pastor Titus Irvin, hey man, what's going on? Pastor Wheelock, hey, what's going on, President? So glad to see all of these pastors and preachers on tonight. Do a woman have control over her body? Does a woman, should a woman have control? With all of the things that are going on in this world, you have the unmitigated gall and the audacity to pass something in the Supreme Court stating that a woman really has no say so over her body. Dr. BJ, I'm gonna get to you first.
Okay.
What is your take? You was on last week with me and you support me every week, and you're one of our regulars on here. You know your brother loves you, and your brother
Yes.
always got your back.
You are my brother.
You
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 know,
as you as a black woman, you as a woman, you as a Christian woman, you as a mother. I think you have 3 sons.
too.
She has 2 sons. You as a grandmother. What? How are you feeling with this Roe versus Wade and being passed in the Supreme Court? Let's start
Live
off.
it. Live it. And my thing, I didn't want to go there, but I'm like, how can a group of wrinkled old white men tell me what to do with my body or any woman? But see, understand, it's really not about babies. They don't care about babies, because if they cared about babies, they would pass laws to feed, provide adequate housing, quality education. They don't do that. They're interested in a zygote and a fetus, which is a little small cell tiny thing that the woman doesn't even know she's carrying for several weeks. Once that child is born, they care nothing for it. It's ironic that you would ask that, because in my master's program, I think we were doing a class on ethics, and I wrote a paper about that, saying, yes, the evangelicals, the far right Republicans have all this rhetoric about what they care for the unborn, and someone has to be a voice for the voiceless. But y'all don't give a dime about anybody once they're born. If they're poor and if they're persons of color, you don't care about them. It's about control. And this thing is ushering in a lot of other things. A lot of other things, like I saw 5 major rulings that, if reversed or changed, could have earth-shaking reverberations and the potential to send human rights spinning backwards. That could dovetail on this. Loving versus Virginia, ruling the removing of laws against that allow interracial marriages. The Obergefell versus Hodges case that codified into law the right to same-sex marriages. Brown versus Board of Education, striking down the legalities of segregated education, which dovetailed on the 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson ruling on segregation. So it's about control. It's about putting us in our place. It's a roundabout way of going back to the way it was. MAGA, Make America Great Again. The greatness of America, for those who ascribe to that, was slavery, pure and simple. But they know they can't go back to slavery. So they tried police violence. They tried redlining housing. They tried substandard education. They've tried everything. So this is just another little tool in their box, but it's not going to work, because Roe versus Wade reversing is not going to stop abortions. It's going to stop safe abortions. Because if a woman doesn't want to be pregnant, trust this, she is not going to carry that baby. She's going to return to back alleys. When I was a kid, my family had a friend. In fact, he was one of my Sunday school teachers. There were 3 brothers and 1 girl in the family. This was an exceptionally beautiful woman, and her brothers doted on her. I think if she told one of them to jump off of a building, they would have done it. She was married. She was happy, loving family, but they had 5 kids, and they were very poor. She found out she was pregnant. So she went to one of these back alley butchers, and she died. Her death almost killed her brothers. That's the kind of stuff that will resume if something is not done to change this. I don't know if they can reverse this ruling. I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is a lot more people are going to die. A lot more children are going to become victims of parents who do not want them. And it's utterly ridiculous. So like I said, I'm livid about it because it makes no sense. It's evil. It's rooted in evil.
Pastor Antoine Miller, my brother, jump in because I know you want to jump right in after
Yes,
that.
sir.
Because everything she said, I know you are a social activist. I know you are very articulate. I hate to use the word articulate. That's what clear people, if they want to call somebody black that's smart, they ain't gonna say they're smart. They just say, oh, they're articulate. But you're smart. You're very smart. Jump in, Antoine.
Well, first off, I'm going to take you saying I'm smart as a compliment and simply say thank you. Thank you, Dr. George, for sharing all of the thoughts that you just shared. And even before I talk about the abortion issue, what you said is very clear is that this is about control.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Pure and simple, it's about control. Now, me as a man, me as a person, me as a Christian, whether or not I support abortion is not the issue, because one thing that has to be made clear is that America is not a Christian nation. That's the first thing that needs to be understood. America is not a Christian nation. And for many evangelicals, right wing Republicans that stand on America as a Christian nation for why the practice of abortion should be illegal, needs to simply look at the history of America and its so called Christian treatment of people that did not look like those that were in power. And that treatment of people that did not look like them that was in power would show them to be anything but the Christian that many of them had purported themselves to be. So, understanding that this is a secular nation and we have secular laws that we are subject to, it puts those of us who say that we are Christians, how it is we ought to act towards them that are without. After all, that's what Colossians tell us, uh, is to be circumspect of our behavior to them that are without, redeeming the time. In other words, with this decision thus being made, how do we take advantage of the moment as Christians? I won't argue for nor against the practice of abortion, because me, it's something that I personally don't support. However, I'm not a woman. Ain't nobody gonna get me pregnant. And I promised God already that I don't plan on giving birth to any babies. So with me, so with with that being taken off the table, I'm not in any position to tell any woman what it is they ought to do with their bodies.
My point.
The major problem that we have, um, with the Roe v. Wade decision as it was made, because you made some great points, Dr. George, concerning court decisions, um, through the Supreme Court, is that the leaking of this pending decision was something to start sending up a smokescreen to other decisions that were being weighed and or already made by this current Supreme Court, uh, such as Roe, beyond Roe v. Wade, Miranda rights being lifted. And when police officers make arrests, the fact that the responsibility to read someone their rights has been lifted. The ability to carry a concealed weapon is something else that went into play, reversing a New York law, or favoring a New York law that was from the mid 1800s. And so many other ancillary issues that this went out, get the public riled up, and other issues are not being paid attention to, and control is being lost uh, by us on focusing on those other issues. When you think about Miranda rights being taken away and not having to share with someone what their rights are, and now more and more districts or police departments are finally issuing uh, cameras for their police officers. Now that camera can be used against you when they force you, twist you, manipulate you into talking before you actually know what your rights are. And those things that you say can and they will be used against you in a court of law without you even understanding what your rights were. So, as we put forward a push for body cameras to be on police officers, and we look at the strategic delay of those cameras going forward, and so many incidents have been had already where when it has been police officers' fault, how it has been delayed in releasing the footage from those body cameras. My brothers and dear sisters, they are regaining control in other areas. Now, when we look at the Roe v. Wade abortion, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was an ardent supporter of abortion, of a woman's right to choose, did have a problem with the Roe v. Wade decision. And what she had said about the Roe v. Wade decision is that it was too sweeping when it was first announced, and that it was something that should have been done incrementally, and that she would have preferred that a case that she represented, Starks versus the Air Force, be the case for attacking the abortion issue. Why is that? Because Starks, who was a captain in the Air Force, had gotten pregnant. And it was the Air Force that ordered her to have an abortion in order to keep her position in the Air Force. Well, she refused to have an abortion. She did have the child, but before that case could go forward, uh, the Roe v. Wade case came up. I know that most of us on here are familiar with the show The Wire.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I bring that up, one of my favorite scenes in The Wire was when Avon Barksdale meets with Slim Charles. And he meets with Slim Charles because they are at war with Marlo, they're at war with Omar, and they are at war with Brother Muzon. And what he says uh, to Slim Charles was that we're at war over a lie. And Slim Charles' answer to him was, it don't matter. We stand on that lie. We die on that lie. And I bring that up because Norma McCorvey, who is the Roe in the Roe v. Wade decision, was able to bring her case to bear in the state of Texas, saying that she was raped. Come to find out, she was not raped. And even though the rape was not mentioned when it got to the Supreme Court, we find Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying that her case representing the Air Force captain would have been the better case to go before the Supreme Court. And so the sweeping decision was pushed forward in 1973. Watch this, on a Republican Supreme Court where Justice Earl Warren was the Chief Justice of at that time. Many will remember the Warren Commission in the state of California. With that thing in mind, it was pushed forward on a lie, just like so many other atrocities that had happened in the African American community. When a white woman cries, when a white woman lies, there have been many blacks that have died. And so, as Slim Charles said, we stand on that lie. They stood on that lie and made a sweeping decision. Even though it's a woman's right to choose, they went on what was basically a lie. Where I stand on it today is, it's not the issue of the lie, but it's the issue of the lie that is now being purported for people who say that they support life in this and that they support life in that, when in actuality, we have seen that far too often, as Dr. Jim George said, they don't support life, they support their stance. They support their ideology. They support their political leanings. And they still support us being put in jail, us being murdered, us being lynched, and taking away our rights for the lifting up of their own supremacy.
Wow. Wow. I'm agreed. Dr. BJ, you want to jump back in? Turn your mic on, Dr. BJ.
You can tell I spend half my life on Zoom. I'm already acclimated to, if you're not speaking, mute yourself. But Clarence Thomas, right after that reversal happened, He recommended getting rid of birth control. So I'm like, so they don't want women to have a choice. And they're considering getting rid of the morning after pill, which that came after my time. I'm like, okay, whatever that is, it seems to be something that works. So the real deal is Pence, remember when Pence was going all over the country seating federal judges? So they were stacking the Supreme Court. They knew everything that was coming down the pike. This is not new. People are like, oh my God, they just reversed Roe v. Wade. They've been talking about reversing it for how long?
Long
When they
time.
first start talking, when somebody first started talking about something, likely they've already done it. They're trying to talk it up to get as much buy-in as possible. So they stacked the courts with far-right Republican judges. Step 2 is to take away rights that will impact people of color more than other groups, knowing they will have no legal recourse because of the stacked courts. Roe v. Wade is the tip of the evil satanic iceberg. I was on a national conference call with Mike McBride, Tracy Blackman, and some other clergy, right?
Pico.
Yeah, but it wasn't Pico. It was just this group
Okay.
that they had pulled together because of this decision. So they were saying, where is it? They were saying that ruling about 100-mile border. Yeah, there's a new ruling about 100-mile border around the United States. That means it's not just the southern border, but every place where there's a coastal area, they are creating this border. Border Patrol has now new enhanced rights. They can come in after anybody. They can search anybody. They can search children on their way into school. They can search mothers in the grocery store. They can search people on their way to church. So this is way bigger than Roe v. Wade. This is like the Supreme Court and the far-right Republicans have lost their natural minds. And they did talk about dismantling the Miranda law, but you've already covered that. But the border includes the border with Canada. We've never had any issues with the border with Canada, right? That was part of our history. When people were escaping slavery in the South, they would make their way north, and many people made their way to Canada. They're supposedly also working on immediately I told you that outlawing birth control and reversing same-sex marriage. So it's just a lot, and being angry is the natural response. But my question is, okay, everybody's upset about this. It's wrong. It's evil. It's this, that, and the other. But what are we going to do? What can we do? What is possible for us to do?
Let's deal with that question. Let's table that question for about 20 more minutes. Let's table that question.
Okay.
So let me ask y'all a question, because there are a bunch of comments and stuff over here. People agreeing with what we saying. People agreeing that this is not a Christian nation no more. People are agreeing that it's going to be a lot of illegal abortions and stuff like that. The decision, of course, affects Black and brown people. Black and brown women will be affected the most. Blacks and Mexicans will be,
Yep.
Latinos will be affected the most out of all this. Let me just say this, you all. This is a question for both of you all. Is it really a choice if your choice has consequences? Or is it really a choice if your choice is a sin?
Repeat that second one.
Is it really a choice if your choice is a sin?
Sin has always been a choice.
Yeah,
That's why God
exactly.
gave us free will. People are not made to do right. There's no glory to God if we're forced to do right. That's why he gave us a choice.
And to the first question, because you're right on that one, Dr. Barbara George, but all choices have consequences.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Every choice has a consequence. And whatever your choice, even to the extent whatever the sin, you simply can't choose what the consequence may be. You
Right.
can only make the choice for what the sin or the choice is.
Absolutely correct.
Now,
Did you? Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. All right, I'm parked now, y'all.
Okay. Praise Jehovah.
Hallelujah.
We got tired of you looking over your neck. You're a safe driver, though.
Thank you. Um, something that you had said a few moments ago, Doctor, was in mentioning Clarence Thomas. Because Clarence Thomas, one of the things he immediately mentioned was revisiting same-sex marriage,
Mm-hmm.
revisiting certain decisions. If that's the case, if that's the case, then he has to be willing to revisit the Loving versus State of Virginia case as well, which
Yeah.
was against interracial marriage, because he is one who is in an interracial marriage. If
Yes.
all of
Absolutely.
these other things are on the board, he has to be willing to
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm going to sacrifice all these other things. But
Hmm.
we can just about guarantee he's not going to
He's
sacrifice
not.
for all of these other things because he loves his white woman.
I've never seen anybody else do that but me. I do it with my kids, and it just cracks them up. You are the first. Now, I got a question for you guys. Did you know Walmart, Exxon, and Citigroup each gave about $300,000 to politicians backing abortion bans? AT&T is the biggest corporate backer, giving politicians behind abortion trigger laws more than $1 million. Major corporations far outspent anti-abortion groups in bankrolling these politicians in 13 states.
It doesn't surprise me.
I'm
No,
not
but
surprised at all, especially when you mention Walmart and the Walton family. Um,
yeah,
Sam Walton's family have always been right leaning and conservative.
it's so evil.
And I'm basically letting y'all talk tonight because I talked so much last week, and I wanted people. I'm in favor, whether I believe in abortion or not. First of all, we don't know how a baby was conceived. And I brought up last week on, so if a girl in high school was gang raped in a bathroom by 4 or 5 guys, and she don't know who she got impregnated by, and she's supposed to keep the baby, she's supposed to
Mm-hmm.
raise that baby, she's supposed to really love and nurture that baby. Because y'all do remember with the prayer of Jabez, Jabez's name means my mama bore me in pain.
Right.
Right.
And people look at that, oh, the prayer of Jabez, oh, the prayer of Jabez. Yeah, but that prayer of Jabez was painful for Jabez.
Uh
Because
huh.
every time his mama looked at him, all she saw was pain. She was miserable. And this in the Bible.
Yeah.
So, who are we to say, yes, you should have that baby. Yes, you should raise that baby. Yes, you should love that baby. I know what happened to you, but I don't think that's the choice of men to be in the Supreme Court arguing and ruling over a woman's body, which a man ain't never been pregnant before. A man has never conceived before. A man has never delivered. A man has never woke up and had morning sickness. Man, it's so many things and issues right there on other things. It's a plethora of other things that needs to be handled in the Supreme Court. And all they did was open a can of whoop behind, because
Yep.
that's all they gonna do is whoop our behinds with these decisions made in the Supreme Court.
But
That's all
Marty,
they
that's
gonna do.
the intent. That's the intent.
And we're never
But
at the
see,
table. We're never at the table.
but
It wasn't no doggone women. Hold on, Antoine. It wasn't no women, Doc BJ. It wasn't no women at the table when they was making these decisions
No.
on a woman's body. It's a bunch of old white men making
Mm-hmm.
these decisions. It wasn't no black women. It wasn't no Latino women in there, because being broke for black and brown people is one thing, but being broke for clear people is something else.
But peep this. Now, the women who will benefit, it's not benefiting or not it's not benefiting or not benefiting. The women who can get the abortions, rich white women, they can get in a private jet, fly to Sweden, wherever. They fly under the radar because people are not watching them. They can go get the abortion. They can get an abortion every 6 months or whatever they want to do. It's not an issue for them. They say, okay, like people can come to Cali. If you're in Mississippi and you're getting one check a month from the government because you're, crazy check or disabled, whatever, you can't get on an airplane and fly here to come and get an abortion, pay for the abortion, stay in a hotel,
Exactly. You
eat.
got to eat while
You
you
can't,
here.
yes. So there's a backstory to everything. They understand this dynamic. Oh, it's not going to affect our girls. Because you let one of those old Ford's granddaughters or great granddaughters say she gets raped, or say she just hung out with her boyfriend and got pregnant. You can trust that she is not, unless she wants to, unless they get married or a decision is made, you can trust that she is not going to carry that baby to term. They're going
Hmm.
to say, okay, here's my credit card, go take care of that. And even if she wants it, they'll be angry and say, you go take care of that now. You're not going to besmirch the family name.
Hmm. Come on, Twan.
Well, to the extent that there were no women at the table, when we look at the current decision, which ironically is based on a Mississippi case, when we look at the
Right.
current decision, one of those at the table was a woman, Catholic woman appointed under President Trump. This goes back to the issue why representation is so important. And
Yep.
one of the reasons I think Supreme Court terms should not be lifetime appointments, because one of the things they aimed at was getting those that would be young enough and conservative enough that they could appoint to the bench that would serve for the next 25, 30, hopefully
Yep.
40 years to a political party's leaning. Justice Thomas himself hopes to be able to serve on the Supreme Court for 40 years. In other words, he's saying when he got in there in the 90s, he don't plan on bouncing out until they roll the casket down the aisle.
Yeah.
Uh, I think Supreme Court appointments need to be on a rotating basis, maybe
Yes.
15, 20 years maximum, because culture and society change. And when you understand that culture and society change, that's why previous precedents by the Supreme Court are overturned over time because of the change of culture and society. Again, going
Mm-hmm.
back to what I said earlier, this is not a Christian nation, it is a secular nation. And because it is a secular nation that just so happen to have a lot of Christians that are in it, we cannot impose our will upon the laws. No matter how much we agree with them or not, we cannot impose our will upon the laws, because we might as well then be just as any Middle East country that is under Shahira law, and
Right.
forget about a woman's right, but go ahead, put her in a burqa, put a shield, a veil over her face, let her stay at home, let her have no decision on anything, limit how much education she get, limit whether or not she can make money or go out and find a job where she can contribute to the household. We might as well be like a Middle Eastern country
Yep.
if we are going to allow Christianity to be the rule of law. What we have to do as Christians, even when it's something you don't agree with, is literally take advantage and minister in the midst of that situation. I don't know. I did a TikTok and a video, a reel that's on Facebook, a pastor that's in North Carolina that said Democrats, they're all baby killers and demons.
Yep.
And literally, when you make that statement, you've just said that about 90% of African Americans are demons and baby killers, since we tend to lean towards being Democrat. And the problem with that is you have eliminated for your entire congregation and everyone that is a so called Christian, you have literally eliminated the opportunity to evangelize to someone who you feel may not be a believer. And
Right.
our job as believers is not to demonize, not to
Right.
condemn, not to judge, but to again redeem the time, take advantage of the opportunity, and minister to them. Because watch this, as much as I would hate to see an abortion simply because of the convenience of someone's life, I don't understand the decision that led a woman to make the decision to say, I need to terminate this pregnancy. However, I do understand if one life is lost, God has given us the opportunity to reach out and to minister to the life that is still here. And it may not be in telling her, make better decisions for your life, but in making a decision for Christ now. And that
Mm-hmm.
decision for Christ now could lead to a plethora of different decisions in her life or choices where we have already said where the consequences could come out better because we've
Right.
steered them in the right direction
Yeah.
as opposed to following a domineering supremacist ideology. And you've heard me say it before. That's why I think we should not ascribe to either party, because I have seen for my own self where both parties have used us as a tool and a shrill to
Correct.
get into office, but
Correct.
have never, ever, ever continually and consistency met the needs of the communities where most of us come from.
Yeah.
Mm.
Correct. Correct.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. This is not a show about we just talking about what we talking about. We giving some statistics. We just talking about what our opinions are, and our opinions ain't got nothing to do with you being sold out for Christ, or you. And so many men like to chime in on what a woman should be doing with her body, and we're quick to say what we will and what we want to do. But what if it happens to your child? What if it happens to your daughter? What if your daughter gets raped? What if your daughter get gang raped? What if your daughter want to have an abortion? What if your daughter made a mistake? What are you going? Are you going to support your daughter? You're not going to support your daughter. You're going to force her to have a child. I mean, this show is about the rights
But
of a woman.
but but let me interject something right here. And I know that this goes against the grain of open and free choice. I do feel that if a minor is pregnant and chooses an abortion, that a parent should have a right to know that their child is undergoing that medical treatment,
Mm-hmm.
that surgical treatment. I think a parent should have that right to know. A parent should have a right to know why their 15-year-old is upstairs in her room refusing to come out, feeling sullen and left alone, why she may be depressed, why she may be sick right now. I think a parent should have a right to know before any major treatment like that
I
could be
agree.
Yes.
performed on their
Definitely.
child.
I
Because
agree.
if something goes wrong, does that mean you take away the parent's right for legal and or financial remedy for what may have happened to their child from a doctor who didn't know what the hell they were doing
Mm.
and botched an abortion
Mm.
even if it was legal? A parent should have a right to know, and if something goes wrong, a parent should have the right to sue the hell out of them if they did not have that right to know. If
Yeah.
my daughter has an abortion and I didn't know about it, and she had the right to her secrecy about it, I mean, if my 15-year-old child goes and breaks somebody's window, who has to pay for it? Me, the
Parent.
parent. If my child takes my car and runs off into a building, who's held responsible?
The parent.
Me, the parent. And so, likewise, in a major medical decision like that, I think parents should have a right to know, because if that child, unfortunately for the business that we're in, Marty, should die from what is a legal procedure, we're the ones that's responsible for paying for the funeral.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm in agreement. I just and you're right. We need to learn how to minister to these people. But white evangelicals have been quiet about a whole lot of stuff. And I know me and you and BJ can get started on that. They quiet about racism. They quiet about police brutality. They quiet about Everything, any issues that deal with black and brown people and the welfare of us and us trying to come up and us having equal rights, they're quiet as hell
Mhm.
about all of those decisions. But yet and still you can stand up. I mean, you can stand up in your church and say all Democrats going to hell. I mean, it went so far as some preacher even put up on his page. It's on a lot of pastors' pages. Get out of here. You on your way to hell. I don't want to pastor you. You don't have no business being in here. If you vote Democratic, get out of this church. I mean, while you're live streaming. That was his words to his congregation that Sunday. Now, what's Christian about that?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. It's antithetical to why we're called.
He
Exactly.
even,
Wow.
yeah, he even jumped up and down like Yosemite Sam in that in that claim. Get out of here! Get out of here, you
You
demons! Get out of here!
exactly.
We don't
That's crazy.
know. That's who you
I'm gonna
should be
send it to you,
reaching
BJ.
for, Doc.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. But you talking about as much as going on in the world, and you wanna put the people that choose. I thought a political party is a choice. I
It
thought
is.
God gives all of us choices, whether it's the wrong choice or the right choice. God gives us a choice. But it may be different between some Pentecostal folk and some Baptist folk. But that ain't what this show is about. This show is about, should a woman have a say so? Should a woman have a choice? I mean, I believe if you 50 years old, that's your choice. I believe if you 25 years old, that's your choice.
Still your
As
choice.
Pastor Twan says, if you're 15 years old, it needs to be consulted with your parents.
Parents, yeah.
Somebody, some adult needs to know about it, because what if something happened to you? You do something that can affect your life forever, and you no longer can conceive or have a baby. I mean, it's touchy, and it's real touchy against church people, because I've been seeing church people, pastors, put on their Facebook pages all this week because Gavin Newsom said we're not following by that. A woman gonna have a choice in California. I've been watching some preachers say stuff like, yeah, Gavin Newsom just opened up the door to send people to hell and all this stuff. Really, having an abortion is going to send you to hell? Really?
You, you know, the saddest thing
But they'll
about
lie.
last Sunday, the saddest thing about last Sunday is after the decision was actually released, what happened in the Supreme Court is that some of the most undoctrinal sermons ever had went forward because people were preaching from a theological standpoint that was supporting ideology to either extreme, that was supporting
Wow.
ideology more than they were preaching Christ. We have unfortunately allowed for Christ to be bastardized in the political argument on the issue of abortion, on the issue of choice. People make a choice every day to reject Jesus Christ as Lord and
Mhm.
Savior.
That's
That
why it's a
is
heaven
their
and a
choice.
hell.
But our job primarily is to preach the gospel, not to bastardize who Christ is for the sake of a political ideology. And when we look at the extreme right and what's going on in a lot of evangelical churches, gospel has often been forsaken for the cause of their political ideology.
Yep.
Jeffers, after the death of George Floyd, said from First Baptist in Dallas that many of those that are in BLM that are out in the streets protesting ought to be glad that they are not in North Korea because they would have been killed by now. What that has to do with the sharing of the gospel. We had a right to protest after George Floyd had been killed. So, back to what Dr. George had said at the beginning, when it comes down to control, when we look at the whole case that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was talking about, where the Air Force was commanding a woman to have an abortion in order for her to keep her post, it shows how government wants to maintain control, whether it's
Exactly.
the right in charge or the left in charge. Government is always going to do something where they are going to maintain a sense of control. Fortunately, that woman was able to have her child because she wanted to have her child. But
Right.
think about it. One woman against the Air Force was being ordered to abort her baby. Again, it wasn't an issue of choice, but it was an issue of constraint. And I'm a big believer that most people, when they are left to making a choice and they are given proper counseling, they will usually make the right choice when they are not constrained to a choice. When you force people saying this is how it's got to be or going to be, most people buck against that kind of system and make a decision that's not going to be in their best interest long term.
Yeah. So most people make the whether it's the right choice or the wrong choice. A lot of people look from the outside in, but isn't it the right choice for that individual? I ain't talking about the right choice according to the law or the right choice according to what Jesus says or what the Bible says. All of us make, I believe all of us in life make a decision based on where we are in life, what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to do. Do y'all agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it's still a choice.
Mm-hmm.
All choices carry consequences. We don't get to ask God or Jesus Christ what kind of consequences are we gonna get. We got to deal with whatever the consequences are. And I mean, I made a choice to lose weight. I made a choice to work out 4 days a week. I made a choice to start eating healthier. That was my choice. I could have stayed bigger than what I was. I made a choice that I lost 75 pounds without any surgeries, without any switch or sleeves, a gastric bypass, no cosmetic surgeries or anything. I disciplined myself. I haven't eaten beef in 4 years. I haven't drank the soda in like 2.5, almost 3 years. This Monday will be, tomorrow will be 4 days, 4 years that I've been consistently working out. That was my choice. I could have stayed big if I wanted to. That was not my choice. I wasn't forced or anything. All of us have choices. If I would have continued to stay big, my health would have continued to deteriorate and continue to get worse. And what happens when your health get worse? You got to take more medication. Well, y'all, I take enough medication. I don't need to take no more medication. That was my choice. And as a man, this ain't got nothing to do with a woman. I just believe that when you become of age, all of us make, as pastors, we make decisions that people don't understand. We make decisions as leaders based on what God is instructing us to do.
Yes.
And I'll rather have a whole church mad at me instead of God mad at me. I'll rather follow God and have everybody mad at me than to have a congregation not mad with me and God mad with me.
Really?
Y'all jump in where y'all want to jump in.
I agree. And to what Reverend Miller said, when people feel like they're constrained and they're being forced, they may make a choice that they don't really want a choice, but it's just being abstinent. Oh, you say, I gotta go left? Well, watch this. I'm going right. They may regret it later, but people, it's a God-given right to have choice.
He gives us free moral reign. He gives us a choice to do the right thing and wrong. And at the end of the day, according to Hebrews 9:27 says, whether you go to heaven or hell, we got to stand at the judgment seat to be judged for our good and our bad.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's like in cabinet people say, well, and I know I'm gonna get in trouble with this one. Well, homosexuals are going to hell. Who are you to say who's going to hell?
There's a whole lot of straight people going to hell too, for that matter.
But what people don't understand is all sin is unrighteousness. Exactly. They're going to judge the homosexual. They're going to judge a woman for getting pregnant and she's not married, for sleeping with somebody she's not married. But what they don't realize is, to God, if I murder somebody and you tell a lie, that's equal to God, because all sin is unrighteousness. There are no No variations. Oh, this is a big sin. Like
Talk,
the
BJ.
white lie thing. There's no white lie. It's lie is a lie is a lie.
Talk, BJ.
Sin is sin is sin. So whatever you decide, if it's against God's will, if it's not to his glory, it's sinful. I don't care what you do.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's all I've been saying for 2 weeks. We got a choice.
Yeah.
And God trusts us so much, he trusts that we will make the right choice. While we were yet in sin, he died for us. He didn't wait until we got right. Hell, we ain't gonna never get right. We're gonna be sinning. We're gonna be up and down until we close our eyes, until we can't do nothing else no more. We're going to be up and down. We're going to be sick one day, well the next day. We're going to be hurting one day. We're going to be crying one day. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 tells us the times of the seasons.
Right. And he died for us when we were in his future. I mean, that just really blows my mind.
Right.
He died for us when
we're
we
going
were
to be messed
still
up
in
till
his
somebody
future.
like Marty pushes down the aisle.
What?
I said, we're going to be messed up till somebody like Marty pushes down the aisle.
You better believe his feet first or head first.
Look, I like when Marty gets all twisted up about an issue because he goes off. I love it.
Because I'm passionate, and I just think it's so wrong for us to send people to hell when we don't have no authority to send nobody to hell. You need to work on your own soul salvation.
That's right.
You need to work on your relationship with God. That's what you need to do. Your relationship with God is what's more important. Now, I'm not worried about BJ. I ain't worried about Antoine on his phone tonight. You know why? Because I know they have already accepted Christ as their personal Lord and Savior. I already know that hell is not their final destination. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I already know that for a fact. I already know they've been born again. That ain't what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about people that have a choice and their consequences after your choices. We don't go free as Christians, as people who've accepted Christ into their life and their heart. We don't go free from when we go contrary against the wills and the word and the ways of God. We don't go. No, my daddy used to say, God looks and he books. Just because you think you got by don't mean you got away.
Okay. Well, I got something for you for next week. Because I know. So what about Texas changing their curriculum to take away the word slavery and enslavement?
I saw that.
You saw that, right?
Bull crap.
I saw when I said, oh, he gonna go off. Yeah. What was it? The term is like unintentional or involuntary relocation instead of enslavement.
Let me say this, and I'm gonna turn it over.
Some strange stuff going on.
Let me say this, and I'm gonna turn it over to you, Antoine. White people ain't never wanted to feel guilty about none of the stuff they've done to black people.
Nope. They still gonna pay for it though.
And the few white preachers that do, see, I ain't afraid to say white and stuff like hell. I just call an ace and a spade, and I like to play spade, and I'm good at it. I call it like it is. They want to make us feel guilty for the stuff that they've done to us.
Right.
They just want to just brush it, and it's just water under the bridge. Y'all produced slavery. Y'all enslaved black people and Native Americans. This land was not y'all land. Y'all came over and took it from Tonto and Bigfoot and Running Man. This wasn't y'all land. We was in Africa living fine. Y'all put us on ships and chained us and roped us down, and you raped our great-great-grandmothers and our great-great-aunts. You raped our sisters. That's why all black people are all different shades of color, is because of how they were conceived.
Well, since you turned it over to me, you said after you got finished, I would say one thing in this is accepting that we are not a monolith. We've got different thoughts. We've got different mindsets. believe differently, live differently, come from different backgrounds, got different things that are going on in our life. We're different social, economic classes.
Right.
We're not a monolith. But the one thing that stretches to all of us, no matter the class, is that we were all conceived in iniquity and shapen in sin.
That's what the Bible
And
says.
and we're all guilty of sin. The best thing that we can do, no matter what your stance is on the abortion issue, the best thing you can do as a Christian is be prepared to minister to someone that has had to deal with an abortion. You don't know what trauma it was that took them to that point. You don't know what it is they went through. You don't know what their economics is. You don't know the depression. You don't know what caused the pregnancy. The best thing we can do is to be there to minister to those that come through it
Exactly.
and let them know that even after this, God has not forgotten you. God has not thrown you away. Christ has not forsaken you. And use even this decision as a moment in time where we take advantage to minister to other people and let them know that even while you're going through this, God still desires the best
Yes.
outcome for your life. And he does it. And the reason he does is that he already sent his son to die for you, who got up and yet lives for you. And one day will come back for you if you receive him. And so, even for that 15-year-old girl that had an abortion without her parents knowing, or that 40-something-year-old woman who said, I can't deal with another mouth to feed, or for that one who simply said, you know what? Oops, I did it again. I'm going back to the clinic because I ain't ready to have one right now. Christ died for you and
Amen.
still
Preaching.
desires relationship with you. And in spite of what it is you went through or gone through, he stands with his arms wide open and wants to have
Yes.
a relationship with you. And that's the best thing we could do for anyone that has to
Amen.
deal with it. That's the best
Amen.
thing we could do. And pray them through it. Pray for them before they go to it. Pray for them if they go through it, and then pray for them after going through it, and let them
Yes.
know that this is not a decision that will send you to hell. For some, it may cause some guilt because the thought's going to always be there. What
Mm-hmm.
would my child look like now? Where would it be? What would be going on? Did I make the best decision then? For some, those questions are going to always be there. But know this, my beloved sister, in spite of what you went through, in spite of what happened, God still cares
Talk,
about
man.
you. That's the bottom line. And if we forget to be empathetic enough to preach the gospel of Christ instead of the gospel of our political ideology, we'll be doing nothing but sending more people to hell anyway. We
Yeah.
must preach about the open arms of Christ that was stretched out at Calvary's cross and died for every single one of us. That first and foremost is what we have the
Oh, bless
opportunity
his
to do
name.
at this
Yes.
hour.
Twan, and that's what we're not hearing. That God still can save your soul. God still can.
Yes.
Look at us. Look at us. God still uses us in spite of us because gifts come without repentance.
Yes.
God
Yes.
still you. God gonna use me tomorrow. I ain't been squeaky clean all week long. I have not lived a sinless life all week long. We sin daily.
Daily.
And he that say they are without sin is a lie, and the truth is not in you. I just did a 4 weeks, 5 weeks? I just preached about 4 weeks or 5 weeks on the church of Laodicea, the church that God didn't like. But also God gave them some insight on
Mm-hmm.
how they could get right. We've been used. It's been a whole lot of people been using. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man or woman will open up the door and come in, I will sup with them and he sup with me. That's dealing with the church of the Laodicea. And that was Jesus was saying, y'all carnal, y'all self-righteous, y'all are lukewarm, y'all are like the water that don't flow in y'all city because they had no canals, they had no conduits or anything like that in their neighborhood. So by the time they went 7 to 10 miles to a different area to get some water, by the time the water came back, Laodicea was set up on a plateau. By the time they went there, came back, and then had to drive up to Laodicea, they water, which was hot, became lukewarm. And Jesus says, I don't even want you either be hot or cold, but if you be lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. And then he said, here are some things y'all need to get right. You talk about y'all money. You talk about y'all pharmaceuticals. You talk about y'all finances. You talk about y'all fashions. And those are things that they had. Fashion, pharmaceuticals, and finances in Laodicea. Even when their church was destroyed, they didn't even need to borrow money from Caesar because they had so much money at Laodicea that they rebuilt their church back up. But the Lord said, y'all not passionate about souls. Y'all not passionate about people joining church. Y'all not passionate about people coming to Christ. Y'all not passionate about nothing y'all do. And I'm going to spit you out your mouth. But the Lord give them instructions on how to get right. He tell them, listen, if y'all let me in, I'm standing at the door and knock. That's how we get to Revelations chapter 3 and verse 20. Antoine, jump in. You're a pastor. Go right ahead.
Oh, man, I'm just letting you go, man.
You preaching,
I'm
dude.
just letting you go, man. Like I said.
Where is the compassion? Church people is like a bunch of, it's some Laodicean churches present right now.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
They're not empathetic. They're not, we just hearing people condemning people. But doggone it, where's the love? Jesus is love. And most people ain't never been loved before, or a lot of people have never been loved before. And if you don't love God or not in love with God, you will never know how to love anybody. I always say that if a man don't have no respect for his mama, he really don't know how to treat a woman.
That's true.
I agree. I agree.
All I'm saying is, where is it, Antoine? You hit it. Where is us being sympathetic? Now, God looks beyond our faults and see our needs. While we were in sin, he died for us. If you confess your sins, he's faithful and just to forgive you and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. What about grace and mercy, you self-righteous church people? If it wasn't for grace and mercy, none of us, we wouldn't even be live tonight on social media. But by the grace and the abundance and the mercies, my Jesus Christ, of God, we have not been consumed.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah. We have, as a church, we have work to do. And it's not, in my opinion, in either way on that political spectrum. Our mission is, whatever way the politics go, is to lead people to Christ, no matter what the situation is. When we, as a people who are in America, look at the political spectrum, you, my brothers and dear sisters, have a responsibility. Number one, to vote. To vote. And in that voting, you vote for those that are going to best represent the causes and issues that concern your community. And again, when I look at what is in the Supreme Court right now, for most of us, I know this is the first time I've seen in my life 3 justices appointed by a single one-term president that are extremely to the right.
He set us up, and we didn't.
That was by design. That was by design.
Exactly.
Absolutely by design. Absolutely by design. Well, it's time to start making those votes that are going to put people in Congress that will push towards legislation that will keep things in a favorable position for all people, not just for one political party or one ideology of one particular group. We need those that are going to be in Congress that are
Mm-hmm.
going to fight, to represent all of us, not just a few of us. And yeah, we're looking at the loudest wheel, the squeaky wheel, getting the oil right now. And that's how we seen three ultra conservative appointments to the Supreme Court. And again, when the next vacancy opens up, it's not about looking for someone who goes to one extreme or the other. We've forgotten about moderate politics in this country, and that we no longer operate from the middle, but we fight from the margins. And the problem with fighting from the margins, you are maximizing minimal issues and minimizing some issues that deserve to be maximized. We're not paying attention to children in this country right now that are
Oh
hungry.
no.
We're not paying attention to education right now that is substandard. We're not paying attention to the fact that prisons still are proportionately more people, your color and mine, being jailed for ancillary charges that other people get to walk on or get probation.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that we put people in office that are going to represent the views not of a monolith of a particular class, but of the monochrome nature of this country that is filled with whites, blacks, browns, Asians, red, Indians, Africans, South Americans, Mexicans, Eastern, Western Europeans, those that are from mid Asia, and so on. We need to elect people that are willing to look out for the monochrome and not the monolith.
Now
Wow.
you realize your boy Trump is amassing of so much money because he's planning on running again for 2024.
When 74 million people still vote for you after they know all of the harm you've done, messed up all the allies against other countries, and 74 million people still vote for you
Look
after
at
all you've done wrong, he got support and
Yes,
he
he
got
got support.
plenty of
They knew the
money.
dirt he was doing when he got elected the first time.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
America still showed black and brown people what they value.
Yep.
Sad thing is, the Republican alternative is Duplantis out of Florida.
Oh, Jesus.
That, wait, the minister Duplantis?
Not Duplantis, DeSantis.
Oh, yeah, he's crazy. He's
That's
crazy.
that's
Absolutely.
the that's the
Absolutely crazy.
Republican alternative.
All right. So y'all, we closing with this one because we've been on over an hour, and I know both of y'all got stuff to do, and I got to get ready for tomorrow.
So do I.
Dr. BJ, what was your question? Remember, I said we'll come back to your question. What is it? Where do we go from
What
here?
are we going to do? I
All
mean,
right.
that's why they had that nationwide clergy meeting. We don't have to keep reiterating the problems. We all know what the problems are. My question is, what are we going to do? What effective and constructive plans can we make? Can we carry out that's going to make a real difference? Because I mean, we were in this same conversation when Trump was first running. What are we going to do? How are we going to stop him? And he tore the country up.
Yeah.
An unnecessary plague, just the Antichrist. One of my friends only refers to him as precursor to the Antichrist. I don't even think she knows his name anymore. But what are we going to do? What can we do?
You think she
Uh,
forgot his
I'm
name, BJ?
I'm slow because I caught that at the end of you saying, and she don't even know his name anymore.
Well, that's all she called him. That
Yeah,
she that precursor to the Antichrist, which I believe.
See, this is
I
usually when
just
I
don't know
call
what we
Freddie.
can
This is
do.
this is usually when I call Freddie Haynes because I
Oh
value
yeah,
his. I value his opinion. I value his opinion, and I'm gonna see if I can get him to come on in a couple of weeks because I ain't finished with this. I'm in favor of
we
a
can't be
woman
finished with this.
having her own say. I'm in favor of supporting a woman, whether it's right or wrong. I just do not believe that a group of men need to be telling, right, cuz? My cousin said part 3. I just do not believe that a group of men should be instructing a woman on what she should be doing with her body parts and her body. That's where I am on there. I'm in support of women. I am in support of women. They should have a say so if they want to have a baby or not. They should have a say so if with anything in life. They should have a say so. Who are we? Who are we to tell them what they should do with their life or what's best for them? I sure thank y'all. Where do we go from here? I don't know.
But this is the time for, they say desperate times call for desperate measures. We're in some desperate times.
We are.
and
And
have been for quite some time.
I asked my god sister, I said, "Are you sure the rapture didn't come and we just got left?" She said, "No." Because her mother was my yardstick for that. But see, she transitioned. I said, I can't call Granny anymore and ask her, as long as she answers her phone, I'm like, we good.
Yeah.
But I get on, when I log on, it logs onto a page that has different news articles from different news sources. Some of the craziest stuff. I mean, like somebody cut off their parent's head and was walking around with it in a bag. People killing their kids. I'm telling you, it's just absolutely insane. I said, I can't even look at it.
That remind me on Dead Presidents when he was walking around with that skull. On Dead Presidents, y'all remember that?
I didn't look at it. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's the kind of stuff that every single day,
Even
some of it I
ears are
post, some of it
souvenirs.
is so bad. I'm like, I'm not posting that because they'll think I've lost my mind. But
Yeah.
it's astounding.
Yeah.
Look, from the pulpit of the Way Church, I have been quiet on a whole lot of these issues right now, simply because I don't want to be undoctrinal trying to go after a social theology one way or the other. But we as leaders outside of our pulpits in the communities that we serve, we do need to be more vocal about things political that are going on, because it ultimately will affect us and the people that the Lord has called us to serve.
Absolutely.
And so me saying that I have been silent from the pulpit is not me saying that I put my head in a hole and ignored it. Marty, you know me. I have no problem speaking about or speaking to whatever the subject is. But one thing I want to make sure of is that we arm ourselves with the correct information, and that we don't go out spreading a half truth, which is a whole lie, and damaging what our cause is.
Right.
And so I'm in research mode on a whole lot of things. Y'all, I'm even considering running for office out there in San Joaquin County. Y'all pray for a brother, because another election is coming around. We'll see what the Lord is going to say about it. But it's something that I've been approached about before, something that I have put off because I didn't want to abdicate the pulpit for a political stand. But I'm grateful for the legacy and the history of now, where we see a Warnock, where we've seen Clayton Powell, where we've seen Floyd Flake effectively serve both their pastorate and the public.
Successful churches.
Successfully.
Successful mega churches.
Yeah. So y'all pray for your boy as we look down the road to see what's going to happen next election cycle.
Well,
Definitely will.
I'm praying for you and got some change for you too. So whatever. We'll come out there and help. We'll and he shall reign for.
Oh Lord, here we go.
Listen, Facebook, would y'all give some hearts and some thumbs up for my guest tonight? I appreciate my guests being on there, who are always coming on Real Talk. I appreciate you all thought process. I appreciate y'all thinking. I appreciate you all being Pen Transparent. I appreciate y'all very much for doing that. Pastor Antoine Miller. There they go. They're giving y'all some hearts and some claps. And
Yeah.
Dr. BJ, Dr. Barbara Jim George, and Pastor politician Antoine Miller, Lamar Miller. That's his name. Antoine Lamar Miller.
Lamar, baby.
Yeah, Lamar. All right.
Don't call me LaRon. He may have warrants.
Well, that's my frat brother. He ain't got no words.
Marty,
All right.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you for having me, bro. Appreciate it, bro.
We know it. You know.
And nice to have met you too, Reverend Miller.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Bless you, doctor.
All right. Y'all was a perfect team. We gonna, of course, I'll have y'all back on again. Y'all are regulars on Real Talk. Listen, tomorrow is Sunday. Sunday is my favorite day of the week. It is the first Sunday in July.
Communion.
So I get to put on a black suit and a white shirt, and I get to go ahead and do my uniform on Sunday. All right. Preach good tomorrow, preachers. Go to church tomorrow somewhere. If you don't go to church at the local building, make sure you go to church online. It's so convenient now to go to church online. I appreciate all of the followers. I appreciate all of the supporters for supporting Real Talk, Pastor Marty Peters. Dr. BJ, where are you preaching tomorrow?
I preached last Sunday at True Faith Community Baptist Church in Antioch, but the pastor's back. I'll be serving communion.
Okay.
So I don't have to preach this week.
Okay. Pastor Miller, tell those folk in your area, in the Stockton, San Joaquin area, please tell us where they can hear you preach the gospel of Jesus Christ on tomorrow.
The Way Christian Church, 1 p.m., 1150 Suite 2A, West Robin Hood in Stockton, California. That's 1150 Suite 2A, Robin Hood Drive, Stockton, California. And of course, right here on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Now, will Batman be there tomorrow too?
Who, Caton? Oh, you know what, man? You know, this is not that place. This is not that place.
You said you on Robin Hood Drive. I didn't know if Batman was going to be with Robin Hood tomorrow, but it's okay. All right. All right. You can meet us. You can hit me first, and then you can hit Pastor Miller next. Antoine Miller next. The Way Victory comes on at 11:55 a.m. Pray for us tomorrow. Pray for all of us tomorrow as we minister word. Praying for all preachers tomorrow. Praying for all churches tomorrow. Praying for all black churches to be safe on tomorrow. I love y'all. Good night.
Good night.
Have a great night. All right, Twine, you get to get out your office.
Bye-bye.
Peace out. See y'all. All right. Have a good night, y'all.